We are now recording, folks.
All right, so I am hopeful. Welcome, everyone, and thank you all for being here. This is something that 1 week ago today, the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction posted, and ironically, the email that I got actually has a timestamp in the corner of when they posted it. At 11:07 a.m. last Thursday, they posted guidance for reopening schools in the fall. And you know, just to kind of weigh that as a task is quite overwhelming if we allow it to be, and also a great opportunity for our students of Monroe. And so you were, parents and representatives were selected to be here today. I just want to thank each of you for your participation. Some of my staff were voluntold, so thank you for accepting the voluntoldness. Principals, appreciate it. And other staff members will go through and we'll introduce ourselves to each other. It's interesting because everyone's view is different on Zoom, so I'm not sure where your view is, and so there's really we're gonna try to do that in a manner that is reflective. Again, right now we have 44 participants and 44 participants, and we expect at our heights, if everyone shows up, we expect to have 50 participants. Also on the Zoom today, we have representatives from the Monroe Education Association, the Public School Employees of Washington, and the Office Professional Public School Employees of Washington, which is our PSEOP is our secretary team from Monroe, and PSE is our classified group from Monroe, and so we'll have them introduce themselves. We've got teachers who are also parents. Seamus, I can see you on my screen, so we appreciate the cross-pollination, and that's one of the things that I think makes Monroe School District, the strength of Monroe School District is that many of our employees are also community members, are also parents, or former, have had children who are former students within our district. And so we have a wide range of representation here, and we're hopeful that that diversity within our representation allows us to have great conversations about the experiences that we've had in this pandemic, what we've done well, what we need to do better with, how we can plan forward with that, and really to map out a plan moving forward. It's important for me to kind of call out probably the legalities is the best way to say that. Our school district is required to submit a reopening plan to the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction 2 weeks prior from us opening school. So I think each of you, for all of us in the Valley, realize that there is no way we could wait 2 weeks before the start of school to communicate with our community of what our plan is moving forward. I have dozens and dozens of emails. I started getting emails immediately after the plan or the guidance was posted last Thursday. Literally within the hour, I had parents emailing me, asking me, what's the plan for Monroe? So I appreciate that confidence, and I did not live up to that confidence of being able to answer that question for them. But I know, as well as you know, that there's a lot of people that are very, very interested in this work. We had almost 80 parents raise their hand and say that they wanted to be a part of this committee. And so we worked hard to identify a representative sample of parents, and that's who you are. You are a representative sample. We appreciate you being that for our community, and we're hopeful that you know, this process, you're able to talk to your neighbors. Again, this is not a secret society. We don't have decoder rings or anything of that nature. We need you to be talking to your community members. We need you to be talking about the things that we're talking about. We need you to talk about the challenges that have been manifested by this OSPI plan. But again, to go back to the process, we will be making a recommendation to the school board The school board must formally adopt that recommendation, and then we as a school district will submit that recommendation, that adopted recommendation, to OSPI prior to the start of the school year. Spencer and Kim and I have met in planning for today's session, and we kind of backwards mapped some things. So just to give you kind of a concept of what we're thinking. We are not going to kid ourselves. And one thing that I just wanted to add into that is that my staff, the Monroe School District employees, have been working really, really hard over the last few weeks to pull off the things that we've pulled off. And as I said, I know that it hasn't been perfect, but at the same time, it's been pretty remarkable how we pivoted from the regular day-to-day instructional modalities that we've all experienced as kids, we were trained on in college, and then switch that to a continuous learning model, a distance learning model, meeting with our kids. And again, we know there's ways to improve that. It's been clear that, you know, the state anticipates continuous learning 2.0. That's the brand that they put on that. And that's one of the things that we'll be talking about as a committee moving forward. We know that. But I have been pretty clear with my staff here at the district office and my building staff that we are going to shut down the school district for the week after the 4th of July. So the 4th of July is on a Saturday. So the week from the 6th starts on Monday the 6th. And then we have a board meeting on the 13th. So we are not anticipating a meeting at that time. And we'll talk about, at the end, we'll talk about this Thursday's meeting and next Thursday meeting as the one that we have planned. And we will have a proposal to you to see if people are able to make it perhaps on the 1st of July is what we'll talk about later. Spencer, I'm looking overview of the process. Yep. We anticipate that this is a collaborative process. So just because next to my name it says superintendent, that doesn't mean that my ideas are better or worse than anyone else on this screen. The reason that we are all here together is to advocate for the students of Monroe School District, to collaborate together, to understand the guidance that has been provided to us from the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, and to make as best of a recommendation as plan as we can that we're confident will continue to serve the students of this district well. And that's really the process that's in place. I'm going to introduce myself again. So again, Justin Blasco, superintendent. This is my 11th week as the superintendent of Monroe School District. Prior to that, that taking place, and you know, some of you know, some of you may not know. Obviously, that is part of the COVID story for Monroe School District. That is part of the COVID-19 story, is a change in leadership when our former superintendent had to make some decisions for her family, and the school board had to make some decisions for the district. And here we are. So Pam Swanberg, who will introduce herself in just a second, my executive assistant, reminded me last week that it's my 10th week. That's how I know that it's the 11th week, because Pam told me it was my 10th week. This is I'm finishing my 10th year here in Monroe Schools, and finishing up my 24th year of public education, my 25th year of education. I taught for a year in a private school that contracted with schools for attention deficit hyperactive disorder students that were on contract from public schools in South King County. I am a education geek, and so this is right up my alley. Redesigning public education in 60 days. While that's a huge undertaking, a huge challenge, bring it on, right? Like, let's do this for our kids. And I have, in my time here in Monroe, benefited greatly from. I'm looking across my I have 3 different Brady Bunch screens that I got to switch to. But our PSE members, our MEA members, our OP members, my staff, this is just a great school district. I am super, super proud and honored to be the superintendent here, and I'm really excited to do this work. I am Spencer, I'm thinking that I'm probably going to, if we could start with elementaries, and you know, Anna, I think, why don't we start with alphabet? Hopefully we can all do that. My degree is elementary.
I always win that game, Dr.
I know. My degree is elementary ed too, just full disclosure. So I'm a sucker for elementary ed. But Anna, if you could introduce yourself and your parent can introduce herself, and then we can move on through that and then all the way up through the high school, that would be fantastic.
Hi, everybody. I am Anna Apter. I'm the principal of Chain Lake Elementary, and both in school name and in personal name, I always win the alphabetical order game.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Hansen, parent Chain Lake Elementary, and I'm actually a former teacher as well. And my boys are in 2nd and kindergarten this year.
I think I'm next. Kristen Cortez, principal at Frank Wagner Elementary, principal, but also parent, have a student in the district as well. Tina,
I'm
I think
Tina
it's your
Tremania.
turn.
Yeah, I have 2 kids at Frank Wagner, one going into 2nd, one going into 4th, both on IEPs and getting special education services. I also have a daughter that will be a senior next year, and I run the only center in Monroe that serves families with disabilities.
Hi, I'm Jeff Presley, principal at Frien Elementary. This is my 27th year in the district. So I started as a teacher at Salem Woods, Frank Wagner Middle School, then became an administrator at the junior high, which is now Park Place. I've been at Monroe Middle, which is now Sky Valley, and then opened Frien's 15 years ago. And my 2 kids went through Monroe schools.
Bonnie McCurney, principal of Maltby, and I have 2 grandsons, both in the district, and I have 4 more to come.
I'm not sure if I'm next, but I'll go since I have kids at multiple schools. So my name's Heather Young. I have a son who is in the process of moving from Maltby to Hidden River, and another son who is moving from Hidden River to the high school. Both are on IEPs and have a lot of experience in that area as well.
I don't want to jump in too fast. Did Frielands have a parent?
Yeah, I was gonna say Jeff Rasmussen is on another page. I saw him. So Jeff, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to figure out how to unmute myself here. Jeff Rasmussen, area director for the Boys and Girls Clubs in Holmes County, based here in Monroe. And I've got 2 kids attending Frien Elementary.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Penrod. I'm the principal over at Salem Woods Elementary, and this is my 1st year in the district. I was previously
My name is Karen Pelham. I have 2 boys that attend Salem Woods Elementary. One that's in the 1st grade year, and then also a son that's going to be attending Park Place Middle. And I'm also a 6th grade teacher in the Riverview School District.
I'll go ahead. My name is Michael Jones. I'm a teacher at Salem Woods and a newly elected vice president for our MEA. This is my 7th year as a special education teacher in Monroe, and I also have a daughter who will be attending Salem Woods in the 1st grade next summer.
Are we to middle schools? My name is Jonathan Judy. I'm currently the assistant principal at Hidden River Middle School. Will be the principal next year at Hidden River. So I've been in Monroe, just completing my 3rd year in Monroe. And on the home front, have 3 one starting high school next year, one starting middle school next year, and our youngest is 3rd grade. So we're not in the district, but dealing with all the questions and these issues as well in our own home.
Hi, I'm Todd Johnson. I have kids at Hidden River Middle School and also at Maltby Elementary, so I'm not sure if who's going to actually claim me, whether it's Bonnie or Jonathan, so you guys can choose, or maybe you already have. Owner of Speedway Chevrolet here in town. I'm actually a graduate of Monroe High School. Have 3 kids, an 8th grader, incoming 8th grader, incoming 7th grader, and then an incoming or a 3rd grader at Maltby Elementary. Pretty sure all this stuff happened exactly 11 weeks ago, so I think, Dr. Blasco, this is all your fault, and we'll be looking to see how you can fix it.
I am Liz Holton. I think I represent the PSEOP. I'm the office manager at Hidden River Middle School, currently working with Brett Willie and Jonathan Judy. And this is my 20th school year as an office manager at in the school district, 19 years. And I also have 2 adult age children, but both went through Monroe schools. One graduated from Monroe High School. The other one attended through Hidden River and then went off to Glacier Peak.
Good evening, I'm Terry Cheshire. I'm the principal at Park Place Middle School, and I've been there, I think, 7 years.
Hello, my name is Veronica Luna, and I have 2 daughters, one in Hidden River, and she's in the 7th grade, and I have another one at Monroe High School. She's in 9th grade.
I'm Sherry Bruton, and I'm the president of the Monroe Education Association. I've been a teacher in the Monroe School District for 29 years. I started at Chain Lake, and then I went to Monroe Middle, which is now Sky Valley, and then now I'm at Park Place, and I'm very blessed to be able to teach art for my last year of teaching. I'm also the proud parent of 2 sons that went through Maltby, Hidden River, and Monroe High School. One's a graduate of UW and one's a graduate of Wazoo. And I'm also a community member in the Maltby area.
I think I'm next. I'm Terri Olsen. I'm the lead custodian at Monroe High School, also the vice president of the local chapter for PSE, and I've been with the district 39 years.
I'll go next. I'm Brett Willie, current principal Hidden River, and I'll be up at Monroe High School next year. And I think this is my 22nd year here in Monroe.
I'm Pam Swanberg. I'm the administrative assistant to the superintendent, and I've been with the district this is my 27th year. I've worked at Chain Lake and Salem Woods before this, and had 3 children that graduated from Monroe High School.
I'm Blake Baird, just finishing my 5th year as the principal at Leaders in Learning Alternative High School. And my first year as the sort of principal of our 2 U3 engagement programs out in Shoreline and Everett Community College. And much like the rest of you, I am the parent of a school-age child just wrapping up her 1st grade year.
I'm Kelly Ward. I'm a paraeducator at Leaders in Learning, and I'm also the PSE paraeducator representative. I have worked at Monroe School District for 20 years, and I have 2 sons who have done their entire K through 12 career through the Monroe School District.
Hi, I'm Amanda Ray. I am a parent of a incoming junior at Leaders in Learning High School, and I'm excited to be here.
Hi, my name is Karen Rosenkrantz, and I am the director at Sky Valley Education Center. I have also been an administrator at Monroe High School and Leaders in Learning, and I have 2 children who graduated from Sky Valley.
Hi, Seamus Neary, and I'm at least one of 15 teachers at Sky Valley that are also parents. So I'm here as a parent. I have a son and daughter in high school, and I'm also a STEM environmental science teacher.
Hey everybody, my name is Jason Petty. I'm a parent of an incoming senior at Monroe High School. She started way back when as a Chain Lake Cheetah, was a Park Place Puma, and now going to be a senior at the high school. So see a lot of familiar faces on here and some new ones. So looking forward to working with everybody.
Any other parents from Connected? I was trying to keep track, and we should have 10, but I think 10 in addition to our staff members who are parents as well. Any other parents who are representative? Okay, I think we're to our district.
I forgot Heidi, Justin. Heidi Ferguson.
Oh, Heidi. Hi, Heidi.
Do we just talk?
Yeah, tell us about your kids. Tell us about your affiliations.
Okay, I'm Heidi Ferguson, and I have a 12-year-old daughter who just wrapped up her 6th grade year at Park Place. And we've been at Frank Wagner for her whole school career. And I'm also an assistant teacher for 3s and 4s at Sunshine Preschool.
And anybody else representing PSC, OP, PSC, MEA? I know there's some people that couldn't make it today. I just want to make sure that for our unions.
I'm Kayla Luke. I am the membership officer for the PSC Classified, and I'm a bus driver. I've been with the school district 6 years. I was a bus monitor before a bus driver. I have 3 adult kids that all went through the district. I think we hit every school in the district except for Chain Lake and Frank Wagner and Maltby. And I was a paraeducator for a while, and then I stopped working for the district, came back as for transportation.
And then district office staff.
I'm David Parator. I'm the Executive Director of Student Services, and I support our special education programs, students on 504 plans, as well as health services. And I think we also, one person who's kind of doesn't belong to a specific building or the central office, and that's Pamela, who can introduce herself.
I'll go ahead and do so. Thank you, David. I'm Pamela Hivenen. I'm one of the ESA certificated school nurses in the district. I work at Salem Woods and Frank Wagner.
My name's Kim Whitworth. I'm a Chief Academic Officer in Monroe. My job is to work with David to make sure that K-12 from Tier 1 to Tier 2 and Tier 3, we're serving each and every single one of our kids. And I'm very proud to be a part of this learning community. Nice to meet everybody.
Hi, I'm Erin Zaccarda. I'm the Director of Communications. I have 3 kids finishing up their 5th grade year at Salem Woods, and they will be going to Park Place next year.
Hi, I'm Joanne Dickinson, Director of Human Resources. I am completing my 23rd year in the district, all of that time spent in human resources. I have 3 adult children, all who went through Monroe schools, and currently have 2 grandchildren attending school and 1 who will be entering kindergarten in the fall.
Hi, my name is Joe Nigel. I work at the district office as Monroe School District's Prevention Services Manager. I coordinate the Monroe Community Coalition, Primary Substance Use Disorder Prevention Coalition. And happy to share that that community coalition this year has raised more than $505,000 to support students in Monroe School District. That primarily funds my behavioral health team of licensed mental health clinicians, co-occurring disorders therapists who specialize in the treatment of both mental health and substance use disorders, case managers, student support advocates, social workers, and a redesigned backup process. So we are working hard every day to improve quality of life for Monroe students in a way that few other districts can.
Hi, I'm Brenda.
Hey everybody,
Hunt.
my
I'm
name
the
is Greg.
financial- Go ahead, Greg.
Hey everybody, my name is Greg. I'm our Risk Safety and Security Director. I also oversee our security teams and co-lead our student threat assessment team programs and conduct most of our training for safety. So essentially, I'm trying to make sure that our staff and our kids are safe and the district minimizes liability whenever possible.
Hi, I'm Brenda Hunt. I am in my 12th year as the financial officer for Monroe School District, all 12 years in the district office. And my job is to help execute all of our ideas within the confines of our resources.
My name is Deanne Hermes, and I'm in digital learning. This is my 5th year in the district, and I have 3 teenagers at home.
My name is Niall Trimble. I am currently one of our coordinators of digital learning, moving next year into curriculum and assessment underneath Kim Whitworth.
Keith?
Hi, I'm Keith Welton. I'm the manager of tech services for the district. This is my first year, but we raised both of our boys in the Monroe School District, both successfully graduated Monroe High School. Thank you to many of you, and both are doing well, so thank you.
I'm Devlin Piplick, Director of Facilities for Monroe School District. I'm a member of the team that oversees facility operations. I've been with the district 5 years, and I have 2 kids that will be in education this year. So.
Hi, I'm Mike Birch, Director of Transportation. Just finished my first year as director and my 4th year in transportation.
I'm Kelly Hazlip, and I'm the Director of Dining Services, and I'm also with Chartwells.
Anyone else? My staff has pointed out to me my auspicious beginning of not having my video on for my introduction. That was a great move. So just know there could be a lot of self-deprecation and humor along the way. I think my staff knows that for me. I had a football coach a long time ago that said, having fun while getting it done. That was his saying. Typically, that was when we were bent over, exhausted, and trying to gasp for air. It was usually, so hopefully you never hear me say that, because that's what's ingrained into my mind. I think we have all parents, all staff members introduced. I think it's just Spencer. And just before I turn it over to Spencer, I just appreciate the opportunity. I know that took a long time. It really was important for us to have this opportunity for each of you to introduce yourselves. One thing that resonated really powerfully to me was how much personal investment was shared around the Monroe School District. Kids, graduates, Todd and Joanne, graduates of Monroe, and I think there's more of you in this audience. Many of you know that my mother-in-law was the valedictorian of Monroe High School, so the pressure's on for me, by the way, and she holds me accountable to that quite often. You know, this work is not just a vocation for the people that are members of this team, and I think you heard that. And so as we continue our work together, there's a lot of lenses and a lot of different backgrounds and experiences that each of you is bringing to the table, and we appreciate that. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. So, Spencer.
Yes, sir. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Spencer Welch, and I am the facilitator for your journey here over the next 4 or 5 weeks. As I was listening to you talk about your backgrounds, I'm thinking that coming this September, it will be 46 years ago that I started teaching in a high school in the area. And so I've had a long career of teaching, and then as a school principal, and then as a HR executive director in a school district on the east side, and then from there to the University of Washington and the Center for Educational Leadership, and the last 7 years as a private practice consultant that works with school districts on leadership and on community engagement facilitation. So it's a real honor to be here. And I just want to echo what Justin was saying in listening to you. You know, I get to work with school districts all over the state, and actually in the Northwest. And it's very seldom that I hear so many people in a school district that have children that have gone through the district and have graduated or currently in it. And that really speaks to the sense of community that you have in your district, and you should be very, very proud of that. And all the more important to have your voices heard in this process as we go forward. This process is going to be difficult, frankly, on all kinds of different levels. First of all, the content of it is really difficult. The charge that we're trying to solve over the next 6 weeks is extremely complicated with a lot of contradictory values in place and just logistics that are going to be really, really challenging. And then on top of that, the environment that we're in order to work through this process is less than ideal, but it's the best we can do right now. So I just want to encourage all of you. The reason I start with something that's, you know, a little bit of a downer is to encourage all of us to respect that as part of the process going forward, and to remember that we're going to have to exert as much grace and tolerance and positive attitude as we possibly can, and call on those reserves of that as we move forward in order to develop the best product possible and go forward with the best recommendation to the board that best serves your community. So it's a pleasure to be here with you. I hope that we'll have an opportunity over the course of the time together to get to know one another a little bit better. Certainly that would be a great joy to me. Today, we're going to focus on some process items, and for those of you that want to get right down to business, what I would say is we are getting right down to business, and it's the business of how we're going to work with one another so that we can ensure that we, again, get to the end of this process having had an opportunity to build community in service of a big goal and a very important one for everyone involved with the Monroe School District. So we're going to spend some time today working on how we're going to work together. That's the first thing that we're going to do here for a little bit. And then the second one that we're going to do that's a really important, crucial process, we're only going to get a start on today, and that is the process of establishing what I call our principal considerations, or the criteria we will use in evaluating the options to recommend to the board. It's really important for us to make certain that we are coming from a place of our highest shared values as we look at the different options that we're going to consider, and then to use those highest shared values in order to make a recommendation that we can all go back to our constituents, the people that we represent, our children, our coworkers, and say, you know, given what we value as a district, this was the best option. My greatest hope is that also at the end of the process, we will say to ourselves, and we worked well together, everybody had an opportunity to be heard, it was fair, it was transparent, and whether or not I agree with the decision that we made as a committee, the general consensus of the committee, I agree with how we got there. I can live with how we got there, and I can support it on the basis of people working together. So, two main things today, then we'll be talking a little bit about some content. Justin will share with us a little bit where the current guidance is. So we'll get to it, and always, if you have any questions or concerns about how this process is being facilitated, I would certainly want to hear that. On one of the documents you got sent today is my email, and we'll put it in chat also. Never hesitate to send me an email and say, you know, hey, I've got some concerns about how this is working out. Would you please address this? And, you know, if you want me to call you, I will do that. If you want me to engage in an email conversation with you, I'll do that. However, I can make certain that you feel comfortable with our way forward. Sound good? And you can just give me thumbs up so far. Okay, all right. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to move really quickly into this, is to do a process that I call your highest aspirations. And Aaron sent us all a set of documents today via email, and this is one of them. It's called Your Highest Aspirations. And I'm also going to see if I can, oops, okay. If you can access that at home or in your office and take a look at that. And it's going to ask you to reflect on about 3 or 4 questions. And
sir, if you need to share your screen, sir, you can.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yep. All you need to do, sir, is click the green share screen button down there towards the bottom, and you can now share your screen.
Perfect. I appreciate it. And hopefully everybody can see that. Your highest aspirations. And what I'd ask you to do is to take about 4 or 5 minutes to do this on your own and to do some thinking about this, about what you hope we will accomplish. So as you look at that sheet, it says, as you think about our shared work together over the next several weeks, what are your highest aspirations about the outcome? And then just going on with that. So about 4 or 5 minutes to do individually some thinking about that. And then we're going to break out into small groups. Keith is helping us with that. And I will invite you at that time to have a conversation among the small groups about what you've shared and what your thinking is with regard to the highest aspirations. I will ask that someone in the group takes notes and is also willing to share with the large group when we come back together. But I'll reiterate those instructions when we get to that point. But first of all, just take about 4 or 5 minutes and think about what you'd like to accomplish and how you would like that to look and what we need to be thinking about together in order to make that happen.
Spencer, could you please make that a little bit larger for people like me who have bad eyesight?
Yes. How are we doing? Did that Did that work?
Oh. Oh, yeah, there it is. Much better. Thank you.
You bet. So I will leave that on while we're working individually, and then when we get back into groups, we'll take that down and you can have conversations. Sound good? Okay, so about 4 or 5 minutes, just some individual thinking. And if you could give me a signal by holding up a finger of how many minutes you need to complete this from I'm done to 1, 2, 3, 4, and okay, and I'll try and look at all the screens here. Probably looking at about 2 minutes. Some are already finished, but let's go another 2 minutes. Okay, we're going to move on a little bit, and this is where we're going to now get into small groups. Keith is going to divide you into breakout rooms, and you're going to have an opportunity to have a conversation about that highest aspirations idea. The first thing that you'll want to do is have a volunteer or select someone in your group to be the reporter out, and also taking notes about what you come up with as a group, what your group comes up with, or it could be two different people if you choose to do it that way. But we'll go for about 10 minutes in this conversation in breakout rooms. Does that make sense what we're attempting to do here? Okay, so have good conversations and we'll see you in about 10 minutes.
So just so everybody understands, I'm going to go ahead and launch the breakout rooms. For those of you who are not district staff, I will be adding you individually to a particular breakout room. Zoom doesn't allow me to add you pre-meeting. So that's going to take about a minute or so for me to get everybody in there. So can we make this about 12 minutes, Spencer? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I appreciate everybody's patience as we work within Zoom. Here we go. Dr. Blasco, Kim, and Pam, you can join any breakout room you choose to, by the way. Okay.
Okay, Keith, I'm really embarrassed. How do I choose a breakout room? I probably wasn't listening.
No, that's okay. You should have gotten actually I'll just pick one and join it and join one.
Just pick one for me.
Okay, I'm gonna put you in room 2.
Thank
there
you.
You go. Yep.
Can I be in the Chain Lake group?
I'm working through it.
I see the same look in many of the parents as in my eyes. It's like, okay, haven't had an invite yet, but I know you're working through it, Keith.
Yeah. So again, Dr. Blasco, you should have been able to, you should be able to join anyone you want, but apparently that's not working. So bear with me for just a minute.
Modern problems to fit modern solutions.
You know, these first world problems are fun.
I'd like to apologize as the tech nerd on the call for breaking the tech with my presence.
You're good.
Your former affiliation with Microsoft, though, so you're not making any team jokes right now. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of luck because I've got both Microsoft and Google on my resume now, so it's all my fault, really.
No Zoom affiliation?
Not yet.
That was in my head. I was thinking, not yet.
That they're hiring.
They have to be.
Yeah.
People are starting to fall into rooms, so I appreciate everybody working through this with me.
You're back.
I know I was the only one in the breakout room. Should I have waited a little bit longer?
Yeah, actually, when I put you in there, for some reason, that it showed that there were other people in there. So that's why I put you in that one.
Okay, yeah, I feel like I'm the problem child today. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Thanks,
No
Keith.
worries.
Yeah, I really went in there. And I can wait.
There's always got to be one, right, Kim?
Yeah.
You're always right when you're the only one.
I think you need to put me in a breakout room with Greg.
Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put you in there with Greg here in just a minute. Here we go.
Keep an eye on me.
Yeah, actually, Kim, you should be in there with Jeff, with the Jeffs from Frien right now.
Whatever helps.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so right now, Spencer, you and I are the only ones who are unassigned. I've assigned everybody else. You're muted.
Sorry, it's got Greg on here still.
Yeah, I noticed that. Oh, you know what? Greg dropped off. That's why. For some reason he dropped his connection dropped.
Okay. Well, that's perfect. We got it. And for the next breakout group, will these ones that you've assigned just hold for that?
No, no, they're not.
Okay.
So what should have happened? Oh, hang on, Greg. Let me put you.
Just so
You
just so you
dropped.
know, when you put me in a room, it kicks out entirely.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try again. I'm just gonna arbitrarily throw you in one, okay?
Yep.
So, Spencer, you know, it's interesting. I have a pre-populated list and I imported it, but for some reason, people didn't just fall within their breakout rooms like they should have. And I don't know if they just didn't get the prompt or what. So I'm gonna do some more testing before next week's meeting to make sure we have it right. But the interesting part was that some people were just automatically flowing right into the breakout room. So I don't know if this is a user thing. It almost sounds like people weren't clicking a button, because the only people that should have not automatically gone into a breakout room were the parents.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
And yourself, because you guys don't have Zoom accounts within our domain.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the other people who shouldn't have gone would have been Dr. Blasco, Pam, and Kim. And that was by design. When I had kind of talked to Dr. Blasco and Kim, or Pam this morning, they didn't really have a preference either way. And so I just kind of, and they were all co-hosts, so I wanted to allow them to do what they, go where they wanted to go. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect.
Okay. And it looks like if I click on breakout rooms right now, yeah, everybody's in there. They should all be talking. And considering I've got a couple of rooms that ended up with 5 in them instead of only 4, but I'm okay with. I think I'm okay with that, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Did I can't remember. Does the feature have a timer? Did you set a timer for that, or?
I did not set the timer. So based on kind of just looking at the clock here and getting everybody in, it's 5:06 right now. Do you want to give them until about, I don't know, maybe 5:12, maybe 5:13, somewhere in there?
Yeah, let's look at 5:12, and they might not be finished, but we'll have them share what they can share.
Okay. The good part is that when I clicked in the breakout room, it doesn't just cut them all off mid-sentence. It actually gives them a minute and actually starts a countdown timer for them.
Right. Got it.
So I'm optimistically hopeful that everyone will see that countdown timer and go, oh, they must have ended it. Oh, it looks like we just had somebody join us who hadn't been able to make it yet. This is great.
Oh, good. Courtney Ramirez.
Yeah. Hi, Courtney.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Hey, I'm going to drop you into a breakout room real quick so that you can just kind of listen into what's going on. Is that okay?
That sounds great.
Okay, I'm going to.
Sorry, I'm late.
Hey, no worries. I'm going to just drop you into the Frien's room.
Okay.
And oh, Spencer, the other thing I can do is I can actually send a broadcast to all where I can actually type a message to them and say, we're going to end at 5:12. You want me to do that?
Yeah, that would be great. Give them a little prompt.
Okay, perfect. That should have just gone out. So.
Yep, it's on my screen. So.
Oh, did it? Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. That's exactly what we wanted. Perfect.
Yep. Good.
So going forward, you'll have to tell me whether you want to go into a breakout room or whether you just want to hang here with me, and that's fine too, either or.
it's kind of nice to hang with you a little bit because there's a little bit of intensity of managing this process, and
I bet
it's nice to get a little break from that.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
And I can't get to every room anyway in a group this big. And so then it usually if I'm doing this in person, I go from group to group and sit in for a minute or so. And
Sure. But these first world problems with Zoom make it a different animal for sure.
Thank God we have it, right? I mean, what would we have done the last 3 months without?
Well, if we hadn't had Zoom, some districts, some of us would be using, Google Hangouts, or, Google Meet, which some districts are, they're using Google Meet. And of course, some districts are using Teams.
Yeah.
The nice thing about here in Washington State is through OSPI, we actually all got licensing paid for by OSPI for Zoom. Nice. So there's really, and when this whole thing first hit, it was like, you can have as many licenses as you want and need. Nice. So like for our board meetings right now, I'm moderating our board meetings through Zoom webinar format, and we were able to get some extra webinar licenses to be able to support not only what I'm doing, but what some of the other schools have done. Like the high school did a big webinar for their kids for graduation stuff, and so it's been really very powerful.
Good. Yeah, it's really helpful. It's just really helpful. Yeah.
But to your point, I think if Zoom and Teams and Meet weren't around, we'd all still be trying to figure out how to use Skype.
Oh my God.
There's a reason why you don't hear about people using Skype anymore.
Do you remember when it was the it deal?
That's what you did. There weren't any other options. Yeah.
And it became even part of, I'm going to Skype with somebody today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that vernacular has really changed. There's a lot of people who are, I Zoomed today, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Well, we'll see how this works when they come back together.
I'm optimistically hopeful.
Yeah.
The other thing I don't really know, and this is something we're all learning about how this works, is they made the decision to record this, right?
Yeah.
I think it's only recording our discussion. I don't think it records from the breakout rooms. I don't think.
Yeah, you were saying that this morning. People are coming back.
Yeah. So
welcome back.
Hopefully they'll all just come back. I'd rather not close the room on them. Let's see if they'll all just come back first.
Hi, Terry.
Well, the Park Place people did what they were supposed to. That's all that matters.
You put both transportation people in the same room. That was nice.
Well, that's interesting.
We're following the rules too.
All right, good job. That was not by design, but that's awesome. So, cool.
Keith, they ganged up on us, so I felt we're all intimidated.
Oh, Terry, I'm sorry. That's what you get. That's what you get for having those kind of neighbors, right?
Okay. See if you can.
I'm just gonna close the rooms. I'm gonna close them all, and that should bring everybody back. Okay.
Got it.
Hey, Mr. Welton, I'm leaving
Yes, ma'am.
this meeting. I have to go to another Zoom meeting for my OP union.
Okay.
Understood.
But they have my comments.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you much.
I'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Bye.
Liz.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Take care. All right, everybody's popping right back in, Spencer.
Yep.
We made it.
We're back.
I don't know where you went, Kelly, but you made it back.
Look at Anna with her mask on, getting ready to hand out stuff to kids. That's awesome.
Not handing anything out. Calling it. Greg?
We're just waving. We're just waving.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And
My
it's
bad.
been awesome.
My bad. Just waving.
Don't worry, Greg. I don't know if Greg's back, but we're just waving, I promise.
Anna, we saw one of your shirts when I was delivering lunches today about the 5th graders being so awesome they finished in 105 days. That was a great t-shirt. I loved it.
Our 5th grade parent team did that, so that was kind of fun.
Okay.
Welcome. I think we got just about everybody back, it looks like, almost.
Yeah. Looks like the full team here. So I know that might have been a little rushed, and hopefully not horribly so. But what I'd ask for us to do now is to have the reporter for each group just share, and realizing that, you know, that there's a lot of us, just the highlights, just in about a minute or less. Less is even better. Less is more in this case. Just share those highlights, and then we're also going to be capturing those in our, so that we'll have them in our minutes as well, and we'll be talking about them again as we go forward next week. But and for this, if you can just, if you're a group reporter, just raise your hand and I will call on you. And so Jeff, please. And
okay, so to go quickly, we really spent most of our time on the first question. So get the kids back into the classrooms, however that looks, safety of the kids and staff, components that support education. We talked about before and after school care, working with community partners for care for kids and how to do this together, maintain the level of normalcy, including extracurricular and after school activities, exposing inequities, hope that that what we do mitigates those inequities that we've seen. We talked about equitable access was one of our commitments, and to have that as a key focus, giving less advantaged kids what they need, continuing to have our students learning during this time. Some kids need more attention and more time. Less is more. Focus on essentials that we want to move through the grade levels so kids are ready for what they need for the next level. The outcomes, what can we do in order to make these outcomes likely? We talked about a racial justice lens, equity lens, kind of a racial toolkit protocol, safety for all, access issues to technology and tech literacy that we see, openness to this whole process, same vision for what we're expecting. So all stakeholders sharing this vision, and we're sharing it out and everyone following and moving along with that. And the last thing, we just really thought an equity lens protocol was very important.
thank you very much. Okay, quickly, next person, raise hand. Okay, Kayla.
Kaylee, maybe? Is that, you're looking for me, hopefully?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I don't know if there's another Kayla in here though, or Kate.
Yes.
I'm Kaylee. Okay. So the first question, we just talked about making sure that obviously people are safe, in addition to meeting the needs of students, staff, and parents, socially, emotionally, and obviously with their learning. Figuring out ways for students to learn and staff to be able to teach with all the requirements that are handed out. For question number 2, what can you do in order to make these outcomes most likely? We honestly, some of us were not sure just because of how many people are in the committee, but just sharing honestly, seeking clarification, both within this group and maybe outside sources, resources that we all might have. And then the next question, what will we need from the facilitators? Time to listen, listen to the concerns, all be good listeners, and participation from absolutely everyone. And then what might get in the way of accomplishing these goals? Maybe too many people in here, but the breakout sessions look really good to us. And we need to have a growth mindset instead of like a fixed mindset. And then also some were kind of concerned about maybe things that might come down from the state and from OSPI, things changing last minute. So that might be something that gets in the way. And then what might be some warning signs? There might be some unwillingness to participate in the process, and maybe some people trying to dominate the conversation.
Thank you very, very much. And now Kayla, and you'll have to unmute yourself. There.
Okay. So Mike came up with that solution, a sustainable solution for transportation for an extended period of time that meets the expectation of district and the community. And Terri talked about the safety of the students and the staff and equitability for all the students. That has to do with equipment and the internet also, because people are in rural areas that don't get the internet no matter how hard you try with all the hotspots. Heidi's our parent. She wanted to a workable back to school plan for most families with options for others that didn't feel comfortable going back or with the plan that we come up with. And mine was just basically from everybody, from the custodians to the parents to students and everything, and just be able to come up with a plan that accommodates everybody returning to school, the brick and mortar school, that they feel comfortable doing that. As far as the second question, Mike, transparent as possible. He's been transparent from the start. There's 65 bus drivers. He says we all have good ideas, so he wants our input. Terri, open-mindedness, listen to others' ideas, making sure all plans are workable. Heidi, asking her community what their top priorities are and getting data and getting ready for the meeting. And mine is just listen and be open-minded. Third question, Mike said, group, from the facilitator, explain the process, come up with group norms, reminder of the norms, and stay collaborative through the process, and everybody speak to the nugget, remind people to speak to the nugget or stay on topic. Terri, you said to know when the shutdown conversation, when it gets into like personal stuff and not staying on topic. And Heidi, as a parent, would like guidance on the process. And I just kind of agree with everything there. The next question, we kind of all agreed on closed-mindedness, what would get in the way, closed-mindedness, getting off track, kind of the thinking of, well, we've always done it this way, and not thinking outside the box and knowing that we're in a different area of, a different era. And some of the warning signs, people not contributing, participation rates drop off on the meetings, meaning maybe their time is not being valued or their opinions are not being valued, and falling behind schedule.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Spencer. I'm just going to go through our bullet points really quickly. We were group 9. That was Luna, Seamus, Brenda, Karen, and myself. We also spent the most time on question 1, but had pretty robust conversation there. We wanted to make sure that this plan allows us to see students in real life, in person, that we create time for teachers to engage in more professional development so that they can become amazing hybrid teachers. They just need a little more time. That we make decisions that are best for families and kids and put our needs as a group second to those who we're trying to serve, that we're mindful of the diverse needs, not just of our families, but also this group, Many of us were selected because of our different points of view and different spheres of influence. We need to be community focused rather than self-focused though. We need to communicate well and seek to understand every topic fully to do justice to all the families in the district. We should be focused on developing a multi-dimensional plan that really focuses on learning and minimizes risk to health. We should focus on equity by considering the impacts of our recommendations on our most disadvantaged students and families. Question 2, what can we do in order to make these outcomes most likely? Be at every meeting and try to be on the same page. Think outside the box and use clear communication. Be mindful of the realism of the possibilities, but be present and bring your best ideas or any idea, because your ideas might trigger a popcorn thought process that brings out the best idea. And then empathize through the consequences and context of those we're trying to serve. Question 3, what will we need from the facilitator to make these outcomes most likely? The facilitator needs to make sure we stay focused, that we're mindful, I love this one, that we're mindful of the parameters of what we're trying to accomplish. Where are the edges of the sandbox so that we can play in all the corners? Be honest about the shortfalls in our plan. So if we can't serve all, let's be open about how many we anticipate this can serve. It will help us to triage, and we need to be honest both with ourselves and our families. What might get in the way of accomplishing the goals? Being afraid to be honest and candid, a lack of compromise within the group or funding, being too self-focused, warning signs, generally a lack of respect in general, especially a lack of respect in language. We find ourselves talking about them or those kids as less than deserving our full effort. We know we need to get back on track.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Another person, Brett, please.
So a common theme that came up quite often was just putting safety, keeping that as a number one priority. We really want a plan that our community will embrace. Taking care of people, got to keep that out there. I think that's been really important these last few months, and just remembering how challenging this is for families and our staff and kids. Open dialogue is important. Taking a team approach. Those are things that we can do. Facilitator, just being organized and keeping us, coming back to the guiding principles that we're operating under, so we don't start to wander. Let's see, opposing views, time constraints could be challenges. Inability for us to get past those opposing views, and kind of narrow thinking and not like thinking about our own little views and not being willing to look big picture for all of the kids and parents and families here in Monroe. And an indicator that we're doing these things, just a lack of progress.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Another group, Karen, please.
So I was in room 10, and for question number 1, prioritizing creating a reopening plan that is safe for all students, staff, and families. Opportunities to build positive relationships while also keeping academics as a priority. Honoring the unique needs of our students, families, and staff in a safe and supportive environment. For question number 2, having the knowledge of the statutory requirements for opening schools, practicing our flexible thinking, and seeing things from a perspective other than our own. Search for the possibilities in our ideas and stretch our thinking. Having a positive, open, and understanding and willingness to listen, and everyone having the chance to be heard. For question number 3, what do we need from the facilitator? Just monitoring that all voices are heard and managing that airtime. Having an orderly operation, keeping us on task and focused on the work, and asking questions that will push our thinking. For number 4, what might get in the way? Time, feeling rushed, and also forgetting about the people behind the decisions that we're making. and having too many options and feeling overwhelmed with that, and the lack of compromise. For the last question, warning signs, inability to hear others and knowing the difference between listening and hearing, making snap judgments, and talking over others.
Thank you very, very much. Is there anyone else on this page that would be a reporter? Heather, thanks.
Just in the interest of time, since so much is going to be the same, when we looked at the criteria that we were looking to use to evaluate when something is ready to go to the board, it included things like the opportunity for input from stakeholders, including students where appropriate, parents, staff, and other community members, that the plan is based on scientific realities of the time. So as things evolve, that is incorporated into our thinking. That the plan is realistic to execute, whether that's across the ages of the students, the abilities, the amount of staff we have, time, costs, other resources, that we look at that from a number of lenses. That it is equitable across ages, ability, health, language, socioeconomic status, et cetera. In terms of what's needed, we really need to do a very good job of listening, as well as asking questions, and to avoid repeating the same input over and over again. We need a framework that shows roles and the different tracks that people will be working, since everybody can't work on everything. So we need to know who's doing which pieces, who do I reach out to contact about different topics. From a project management perspective, having a work back schedule, a timeline, and dependencies, because, for example, finance can't tell us whether or not it's a realistic plan if we don't give them all of the different pieces of the plan, and then they can give us their feedback, right? So there's an order that things have to go in, and we need to make sure that we're not missing deadlines, or it can have downstream impacts. Some kind of a centralized document repository, so that there's one source of truth for the current document and the current status of the different tracks, so that we're not playing catch up on attachments that got sent around. And then really making sure that people understand how each piece maps to the master plan, so they know where they plug in and where those dependencies are, so that we can share the details and nothing kind of falls between the cracks. Did I miss anything? Okay. I'm seeing people shaking their heads. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you very much. And I am looking for another group reporter. And I'm going to go to the next page. Blake, please.
All right. Similar to some others, our highest aspirations are to ensure that the kids with the least access and support are getting the best service from our staff. Having high expectations of our staff, encouraging our parents and caregivers authentically and engaging them, and balancing that first point against avoiding any sense of students being othered. What can we do to make these outcomes most likely to happen? Listen, 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 to ensure we have an appropriate understanding of the needs of our community rather than coming from a place of presumptions. We can't possibly begin to understand the hugely varied lens and viewpoints of our community on our own. What do we need from our facility, our facilitator? A steady, reassuring hand, carefully steering the conversation. The topic we're addressing is massive. The scope is overwhelming. We'll rely on our facilitator to keep our conversation focused and narrowed on the work that needs to be done without getting lost in the weeds. What might get in the way? Having too many irons in the fire, and a balance of wondering when my voice is appropriate at the table and maybe withholding our opinions for fear that what we have to say is maybe not valid. Trying to figure out a way to strike a balance between not losing the forest to the trees or missing a single tree when looking at the forest. And then our warning signs that things might be getting in the way of us reaching our highest aspirations. First and foremost, elevated heart rate, sweaty palms, increased respirations. If we notice that we're getting flooded ourselves, chances are we're not having the right conversation, or we're having exactly the right conversation but need to take a minute to reset. If we stop asking the question, whose interests are being served, we're asking the wrong questions.
Thank you very much. Another group, is it Tina?
Tina.
Tina, sorry about that.
No problem. So our group felt that a collaborative process was needed to create a plan that would encompass all students regardless of their physical and mental capabilities, that we would keep the children at the center, and that we would have several contingency plans, trying to get the kids back to the most normal schedule as possible, and making sure that we account for their social and emotional needs. What do we need to do in order to make these most likely? Make sure that the stakeholders are the ones that are being considered and their needs are in the forefront of our mind. Be open-minded with each other and honest with needs that we are aware of. Ask questions. We need the facilitator to help keep us on track, keep us moving forward, and to continue providing a safe environment where everyone can share and participate openly. Things that might get in our way are planning around summer schedules, egos or adult drama, not seeing what we need to do from someone else's perspective, and committee members not accurately representing our work to the community could get in the way, because that could cause negative feedback when people don't understand what we're really doing. And some warning signs could be decline in participation, withdrawing from conversations, and negative feedback from the community based on misrepresenting our work.
Thank you very much. Is there another group leader? Jonathan, please.
Thanks. Yeah, so our group, the highest aspirations are started with the conversation around, can we actually provide something of higher quality than what students would be experiencing in a traditional schooling model? That includes our ability to be flexible and adapt to the diverse needs that our students show, but also the diverse ways and contexts of each school community. In terms of how each school community serves within that context. Also in the way that we pay attention to how we create a safe environment for kids, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially, that our plans would consider how to provide that, and how to provide just the sense that students and families are still connected and feel a sense of belonging at school. And looking at, I think ultimately the desire is to bring students into classrooms and school buildings in a way that is safe. What we thought that we could do is clearly support the thoughts and opinions that are expressed, that we would speak our truth and share our stories, so that we have the ability to represent the diverse experiences that are out there, and that in turn we would work to really understand the diverse perspectives and experiences that are there. And also just be in a spirit of brainstorming and seeing how we can build on each other's ideas. Our needs from the facilitator are focus and keep us on track. I think also there's a need for just understanding and helping us interpret the information and the parameters, the guidance that's being provided from the state, as well as just giving us updated information based on things that are changing pretty rapidly. We were concerned a little bit about biases or our own lenses or experience that could get in the way of this work, or really understanding how to meet the needs of all students. And there's a worry that, you know, maybe we are all in this group sharing our own stories, but that wouldn't necessarily represent the whole community, that there would still be stories and that are missed even in this representative group here. And then also are worried about just the rapid shifting of information and just how fast things are changing, that we being able to stay up to date on that.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very, very much. Is there another reporter? Kristen?
Yeah, just an effort of time. I won't repeat because most of what we discussed was similar to what's already mentioned. The pieces that maybe haven't or weren't highlighted as much is a consistent plan, just consistency for families, that it's really well articulated so that that folks have a clear understanding of how things will work, and that it accounts for our very diverse community. We just talked about Nurse Pamela is in my group, and just those health needs and being able to balance the educational needs with the health needs at the same time. Just sticking to agenda and staying on track will be most helpful, because time is valuable, and making sure all voices are heard, and being really willing to listen and balance all the different perspectives.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Have I left anyone off? Does anyone see someone raising a hand that I don't see? Okay. Well, thank you very much for clearly engaging in that in a very serious and thoughtful way. And your ideas, I hope you heard, as I did, a lot of consistency around some ideas. And I think that that's going to help us move forward. And at the same time, balancing that tension, the comment that several groups made about recognizing that we have to think outside of the group as well, and make certain that we don't become tunnel visioned just because we might have a lot of consistency, that we're representing an entire community, and so we want to be cognizant of that. And I will try to hold up my end of reminding you of that from time to time if I think we're going down that pathway. What we're going to do with this, I would ask that the people who took notes or took record of it would send your just your notes, and it can be very informal. Send your notes to Pam, because we're going to collect these and we'll be sending them back to you as so that you have the whole collection of all of the groups of these ideas that we think are most important to how we're going to work together. In conjunction with that, I would ask you on your own after the meeting and sometime between this meeting and the next meeting to look at the document that Erin sent out today as part of that package that was called Touchstones for Our Work, and see if those touchstones cover most of the ideas that you were talking about in terms of what will we need to do in order to reach those highest aspirations, what will we need from the facilitator. And we'll come back at the start of our next meeting and say, does this cover the basis of what we think is important? Should we add things? Should we take things off? Should we start from scratch? But in an interest of time, today I'd ask us to approach this that way in terms of the establishment of some norms or some working agreements of how we're going to work together as a group. Does that sound good to you? Is that acceptable? Okay, and again, if you have any concerns about that methodology, feel free to send me an email, and I really want to hear how you're feeling about this. Now, you'll notice on the agenda that we were going to do, the next part was our primary considerations. And interesting thing happened. One is that many of you approached the first question on highest aspirations in a way that it actually is going to fold into the primary considerations conversation, because you were talking about what would it look like if we knock this out of the park? What would the reopening actually look like? And many of your groups talked about this in the way of, well, what do we want to be thinking about? So that is the heart of the primary considerations exercise. And again, what I'd like to do is suggest that you look at that sheet, the primary considerations sheet, which also came in the collection of materials today, and to think about the question there over the next week, and maybe do some initial writing and some thinking about what you would like to see as the group establishing as our primary considerations. So let me talk about that one a little bit. We're not going to break into groups, but let me talk about that, and I'm going to share the screen. If I can find it, I found it. And I'll see if I can make this larger. That is not the one I wanted, sorry. Can everyone see that now? Okay, no? How about now? Okay. So this exercise that we're going to ask you to do in between meetings individually is for you to think about what are the primary considerations or bedrock principles or highest shared values by which we will evaluate the reopening options to recommend to the school board. In order to make an eventual recommendation to the board that best represents our shared values as a community, we need to establish first the criteria by which we will test each option. Now, as I said, a lot of you approached the first question in the highest aspirations document in a way that's similar to the premise of this. But what we're looking for and what we need to establish, if not by the next meeting, by the following meeting, is what criteria are we going to use to evaluate the options? What are the most important things that we have to consider? I'm going to give you one little example from work that I did in another district to give you an idea about what I'm talking about. So I was working in a school district several years ago that was doing redesign of their boundaries for their elementary schools. And so the first thing that we did was establish, well, what are going to be the highest primary considerations that we use in evaluating that? And that group, over a process of a couple of meetings, came up with 3 primary considerations, and they rank ordered them. Number 1 was student safety, that how we redesign boundaries, the first thing we're going to measure that on is every student can get to school safely. Number 2 was they wanted every school in the district to match the greater demographics of the district, so that every school was a microcosm of the greater district and not having different proportions of students in different categories. And the third one was efficiency for transportation costs. All right, so those were the 3 that they came up with. So does that give you an idea of what I'm talking about here? So if you could spend some time between now and our next meeting and thinking about this personally, and then we'll get into meetings, or we'll get into groups again when we have our next conversation, and we'll go through a similar process, and over time we'll try to hone in on those primary considerations. Sound good? Okay. So I'm going to turn it over for a short time here to Justin, who is going to give you a brief overview of where we are on general state guidance. around this question right now. And then we'll have an opportunity to have some questions for Justin as well. And then, you know, I want to hold to ending on time. We'll take about the last 3 minutes to do the last thing, which is the closing and next steps. So we're targeting 5:57 to get to that part. Sound good? Okay.
So when Spencer asked me yesterday to prepare, or the other day to prepare to provide a synopsis of the 55-page document of guidance, I kind of took a collective big gulp. I've had an opportunity to meet with superintendents in ESD 189. So that's Educational Service District 189, which goes from Snohomish County up to the border and from the Cascade Crest to the islands. And so dozens and dozens of superintendents. And all of us kind of had that same response. And in my breakout group, we're all kind of looking at it and kind of wishing that guidance would have been a little more guidance. I think many of us as educators look at this document and think to ourselves, not a lot of guidance here. But let me talk to you about the things that are I'd say non-negotiables. So in order to understand the document, one of the things that happened is immediately after it was released, it wasn't retracted, but there was an edit to it because of labor and industries. Again, we have our unions represented here, and one of the things that we talked about in my breakout group was keeping both students and staff safe to the highest potential possible, and by doing that, we believe we can keep our families safe as well. One of the major concerns and issues that is apparent throughout this document is preventing a COVID outbreak in our community, right? And when there is a COVID outbreak in our community, that we're prepared to respond to that in a manner that, you know, we've heard of contact tracing to these points, all of these words that you'd have to go back to about 2010 in the movie Contagion. And I know that some of you probably did that on Netflix and Amazon Prime when we've all been here. But there's a lot of things that we've learned about or been reminded about from our high school biology classes and our college biology classes. And that's what we're living in right now. And so sanitation is a huge part of this plan. And within the context of sanitation and safety is also the social distancing. I've really forced myself to go through an exercise of not presenting this in a biased way. And I have to tell you that some of my staff have had conversations with me, and they know that I'm biased about this. It's a huge challenge that's ahead of us. I want kids to be back in school, and I want kids to be safe. One of the things that I think is very apparent in this plan is that we're going to have two kind of sentinel plans, I think, on bookends of the guidance. One is opening school 100%, right? Here's a non-filtered comment. It's an election year. So let's just put that in the context of decisions that are being made by governors all over the country. And I would hold Florida up to that example if you want to you know, drill into that a little bit. I believe decisions are being made politically in some places that maybe not be aligned to the science. And I'm not sure that our state's going to be that way, but in my discussion with Snohomish County superintendents, there is some, and someone said it in our discussion today, is you know, what could challenge us is if OSPI changes the guidance or the government changes the guidance. But right now, I would hold that up as one bookend. Opening school, normal. Kids come back, probably PPE in place. You know, masks is a huge issue that I know we're going to talk about. Page 20. If you want to understand masks, page 20. There is some latitude for facial shields, but we're not sure yet. And Greg and Devlin, so Greg is our risk management officer, Devlin is our facilities person. There's a lot of conversation happening among school districts and with the state, trying to get clarification on plexiglass, you know, because there is a 6-foot guidance that is in this document. So when Chris Rakedahl says, hey, this is all up to the districts, they're going to be able to choose their plans. Well, the way that we get to choose our plans is based on our square footage and the space that we have within our schools to be able to comply with the guidance in this 6 foot. So it's kind of a simple math problem. I see, I was actually noting that Seamus has math behind him. So, you know, it's an equation, right? You take a 900-ish, our rooms tend to be about 900 square feet, plus or minus, and you take a 6 foot radius around a individual, and you're coming up with about 36 square feet per person. And when you do that math, you come up with about 14. And so, you know, if we think about our classrooms, and here's the thing, our classrooms are not 900 square feet because we have teachers that love kids and love learning, and they have created spaces within their classrooms that are warm and caring and inviting. So we have bookshelves and we have book nooks and we have many different things that prevent us from that. So that's a high, I'm going to give you that at a 30,000 foot level. We have some parameters that we're going to have. Now, within that, we also have the ability to look at all the square footage that we have in our school district. So what does our high school stadium, our covered high school stadium look like? We have had conversations about renting or purchasing large tents to install at each of our schools to be able to have kids, for example, singing. You're going to find out, if you haven't already, that's a high, it's been identified as a very high risk circumstance. Instruments, woodwind instruments, which is one of the highlight programs at each of our middle schools and our high school. And are we going to be able to get kids together to blow into an instrument with all of the COVID things? You know, there's some challenges that are in play. So again, I'm going to go back to this concept of bookends. We have 100% opening, and then at the same, on the other end of that spectrum, we have continuous learning 2.0. That's the vernacular that we've adopted from OSPI. That means we're not getting together physically, we're delivering content digitally, we're using Canvas, we're having regular Zoom meetings, asynchronous learning is taking place. We had continuous learning 1.0 this year, and what we've been challenged to do is look at the things that worked, look at the things that were challenges, and make those better. What is in between there is really the work that this committee is doing. We know that there's parents, I have emails, I have dozens of emails in my inbox right now that says, if you're going to require my kid to wear a mask, my kid's not coming to school. I have literally dozens of those emails. Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction is working with Office of Fiscal Management to determine if we will be able, as a school district, to count the students that don't physically attend our schools, but that we deliver education to through the continuous model. And part of that has to do with funding. So I appreciate, I think it was Heather who said, and we've got to afford this, right? We've got to be able to pay for whatever model we have. And many of you saw the $8.8 billion deficit that was communicated yesterday for our state. So there's a lot of challenges with that. So those are our bookends. In the middle, we have, not to bias the group, I am not confident, based on the 6 foot requirement, that we will be able to bring all kids back to our sites on a day. So the 550 students at Chain Lake, I do not believe that we can bring all 550 students at Chain Lake back on the same day and comply with the stringent 6 foot requirement. And so what my team will be working on in the background is to create proposals that will be the starting point for our discussions on these teams. So we'll bring those back. Some of those are going to be specifically aligned to the guidance. And I think that's one thing that I've thought about a lot is there's things that we have purview over. This goes back to those of you that are familiar with Stephen Covey. And he has a concept of your locus of control. What do we have control to make decisions on, right? We have control to make decisions on the things that are in front of us. And then the things that we don't have control to make decisions on is this guidance. That being said, we live in a democracy. And so as you begin to become frustrated, because you will, with the guidance that's there, your voices are important in the process. and speaking with our local legislators and speaking with our representatives and talking to them about the challenge. I'm going to give you a highlight in case you haven't found this one. There are no restrictions to buses. We can put as many children on the bus as we need to in the morning and bring them to school and open the door and let them go out into the school. And then before they enter the school, we have to take their temperatures and we have to ensure that they're asymptomatic before we let them walk through the doorways. Do we have to do that on buses? Not clear yet. We're not clear if we're going to have to hire someone, because that's not going to be the bus driver. I'm looking at Kayla. The bus driver isn't going to have a digital thermometer in her hand and be zapping kids' foreheads as they're getting on and off the bus or on the bus on their way to school. And that is one of the things that is has already challenged us, right? Our school board president Langston said, I've got it. I've got the solution. We're going to teach all of our kids on the bus because there's no restriction. We're just going to bring them back. We're going to teach school on the bus because there's no physical. Again, I don't think that meets the requirement of safety, and I don't think, but that's something that seems dichotomous in this guidance that we have. I'm pointing to my screen because I have it up on my screen right now. It's important that you run through the guidance. I've had a couple of quick reads, and then I've had a close read. There's not a lot of latitude. There's not a lot of latitude that's provided. We continue to ask questions. One of the things that is an assumption, I believe, based on this document is that we have desks for every student in our schools. And a long time ago, we began to make decisions. In fact, I have a brand new elementary schools that have made decisions about where kids sit and decided not to go with desks and to instead go with tables. Devlin informed me that some of those tables are 5 feet long, which doesn't meet the 6-foot requirement. So do you have one child at a desk that used to seat 2? These are some of the challenges that are in front of us. So that's a high level review. I'm going to leave it there in terms of time. And I'm sorry, 5:57 blew by, Spencer. But get into that document, spend time in that document, and really be a student of that game. My staff knows I have a Bill Belichick saying, and I'm not a Patriots fan. Some of you might be, but I'm not. Other than I appreciate Bill Belichick being a student of the game and knowing the rule book better than the officials at times. And so we're going to need to be that smart and savvy about this guidance.
Thank you. So what I'd encourage all of you to do is, if you have questions that came up as a result of Justin's sharing of that information, that you get those to us, because we'll want to address those and maybe have those be part of a focus of the next meeting. Quickly, I'd like to go over the next steps. So from here, you have some assignments to do between now and next Thursday. One is to look into this guidance document that Justin's referring to. If you could also look at the primary considerations document that was sent in the packet today and do some thinking around that, so that then we can have some conversations about that next week. And then think about questions that are burning in your mind about how this process is going to work and where we're going to go, and also the thought about how are we going to work together as a group, which we've covered. We've started a coverage of that today. The plan is to meet next Thursday, same time, same station, 4 to 6 on Zoom, and you'll get the invitation for that. And then the question that we had at the start, in order to get this process done in a timely fashion, it would probably be good for us to have a meeting the next week, which is Monday is the last Monday in June, and then July 1st is on Wednesday, July 2nd is Thursday, which would be our normal meeting time. But we were wondering whether people would have availability on either the 1st or the 2nd. And we were thinking that the 1st might be better for more people as they maybe try to get out of town on the 2nd or get into a vacation mode. If you could give us some information on what would be your preference, and the preference could also be, no, I can't meet that week at all, let us know that. And you're asking, well, where will we let you know that? Well, there's a document that I would ask you to fill out also as part of your assignment. It's a closing reflection sheet. Thank you very much, Michael. It's a closing reflection sheet that was in the packet. If you could fill that out either in the document form and send it back to me, or just in an email form, just hitting the main points. And it's about this meeting, what worked well, what constructive criticism do you have, what questions do you have, and then anything else you want to know. And if you could include on that, at the end of that, you know, I'm okay to meet on the 1st, I'm okay to meet on the 2nd, I'm okay to meet on either, or I'm not okay to meet on either. How's that sound? As a way of getting information back to us. And then we'll get that information back out to you next week. We went over, I apologize for that, but just in, for many years of facilitation, I always have to ask this question: does anyone have anything burning on their mind that they just have to talk to us all about right now?
Spencer, just from a quick organizational perspective, I think Heather and her group mentioned it regarding having a central repository to host all these documents. Email is great, and we've got them all in email, but will there be some sort of a online drive that we can access everything from?
Yes, we will make that happen. I will commit to that, and then we'll figure out how to do it. But we'll let you know when it's up and running.
I actually am working on putting some together in our COVID-19 file with all the documents that were shared. I'm sure Justin can take a look at that and modify it however he sees fit.
Perfect. Anyone else, anything else for the good of the order?
You mentioned emailing notes to me. I don't know if everybody has my email address, but here it is. swanbergp@monroe.wednet.edu.
Perfect. Yeah, if you were a group leader or a group recorder today, if you could capture what your group shared around that highest aspirations document and get those to Pam, that would be wonderfully helpful.
Thank you.
And anything else? Well, I want to thank you. This has been a really exciting time. As I listened to you all talk about the highest aspirations, you know, my confidence in what we're going to be able to accomplish just zoomed. Actually, when I was listening to your introductions, I kind of started having a sense that this was a really strong group. And I'm not just saying that. Your rootedness in the work that you're doing and in your sense of community is going to make all the difference in the world. And I'm just really encouraged about our opportunity to do some really exciting work over the next few weeks. With that, I'm going to say thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. And if Justin would like to say anything to close,
I just appreciate your time. Thank you all. Thanks, and the homework assignments.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.